Today, we're going to talk all about the all-new Tesla Cybertruck. It looks awesome. It was just officially unveiled and started deliveries yesterday. So let's get into all the details about the specs, the things that are new that were not part of the initial reveal years ago, and everything we know now that it's all public. So let's talk about the design and how this is such a revolutionary truck. Now, every other truck kind of looks the same. This is what Elon says and Franz say, the head of design at Tesla. And so they want to do something very different. And they took a lot of inspiration from cyberpunk and from other futuristic themes. So when they were designing the actual Cybertruck, they wanted to, their motto was essentially a car like this, a truck like this, which represents the future, should look like the future. And they definitely hit that mark. Now, it's not for everybody. The stainless steel body is very distinct from any other vehicle on the road, let alone any other pickup truck. Now, let's talk a little bit about that stainless steel body. It is an exoskeleton, therefore it is the most important element of the structural rigidity of this truck, which is, as Elon said, more structurally rigid than a McLaren P1, which is insane to think about because that is a very well-engineered, well, not supercar, hypercar. And so to consider that for a consumer pickup truck is, well, again, insane. I think insane is going to be the theme of this video. So, as mentioned, they wanted to make this truck out of stainless steel because of the influence from SpaceX, which is also Elon Musk's company. And to do this, they had to come up with their own stainless steel. And to do that, they actually thought, okay, look, we don't want this to be able to corrode, and we need to be able to bend it a little bit. And so they actually used highly compressed air to bend the panels to, fit on this truck. And as I mentioned before, it is an exoskeleton, so it is what creates the frame of the body traditionally known. So a lot of other vehicles that are body on frame will have a ladder frame. So there is a frame underneath the body, then the body goes on top and attaches. But that frame is what holds the engine, transmission, the drive, the axles, and everything associated with the drivetrain. So again, they're really great off-road. They're very tough, but maybe not as comfortable. And Tesla uses kind of a similar thing, actually. If you really think about it, the Model S, X, Y, and 3 all use a skateboard platform. So you have the batteries, and then the wheels and motors are connected, and then you have the body on top of that-ish, right? They try to move towards a more unibody. It is a unibody construction, but a more one-piece construction where the battery pack is actually structural to the car. This is going to be seen in the Model Y. In any case, a lot of this vehicle is actually pressed in really two pieces. So other than the stainless steel, there's massive presses that will make the rear and the front portions of the vehicle all in one piece. So again, contributing to that structural rigidity. Now, design. Let's continue. So I talked a lot about the stainless steel, the exoskeleton. It's a lot of flat pieces of stainless steel, their own version of stainless steel, as I mentioned. But what about all the other pieces? So you do have front tow hooks, 2 of them in the front. You have a frunk, which in the initial model we did not see. It is a powered frunk, can fit 2 carry-on bags with a little bit more space in there. And you can sit and maybe tailgate, well, front gate. On the front, it will have a 6-foot by 4-foot bed with lighting all around and spacing. It has L-shaped rails on the back, so you can attach a lot of accessories and hooks and tie downs. And you will have a 240. You'll have a 240 and a 120 volt power outlet in the back of the pickup truck as well as inside. But I digress. Design is a motif here. So there are massive window panes. Now, in the original announcement, we saw Franz throw a steel ball at the window. It did break, but the ball did not go through. They did this again in the new delivery event, but it was a baseball, so not quite the same. Of course, nothing happened to it. And I want to mention the biggest pieces of glass, which are the front windshield and the piece of glass that goes over the passenger compartment. Those are the largest pieces of glass in any car. I was going to say consumer vehicle, but in any vehicle, I guess not including maybe a semi-truck, but in any case, I'm not sure if it is the biggest out of anything, but it is the biggest in any consumer vehicle. And so that window, including the side panels, they state will not shatter, not break, much more resistant than a traditional windshield on a car. I would hope so, because with so much glass, I bet the replacement cost is quite hefty when that needs to happen. And they had to engineer a totally different windshield wiper because it is such a large, flat piece of glass. So there's one huge windshield wiper on the car, and it pretty much covers the whole thing, so that's good. I don't know how it's going to do in an environment like Utah, where we have snow and ice, and I hope the motor is strong enough to cut through that, because you kind of ruin your windshield wipers here. If you turn them on, there's ice on the windshield. You got to replace the rubber portion of the windshield wiper. So also I wonder what the replacement cost is like, but in any case, it is a very cool feature. Of course, this car is designed in California, so maybe they don't deal with it as much, but they have tested it all around the world in different climates. They even say, this car, since it doesn't have door handles, it just has little buttons that you push and then doors pop out, that if you're able to push the button, the car's motors that open the doors are able to break through 1/2 inch to 1 inch of ice. Of course, this needs to be tested by somebody who owns a Cybertruck, but they say as long as you're able to push a button, then it should be able to open the door. Now, we see issues with the Model 3 and Model Y where you are not able to open the door handle. So the door handle usually pops in and then out, and then that is how the doors are opened. You just kind of push your finger in, pull out, and they're flush with the door. Now, if you have the Cybertruck, which has no door handles, similar to the Model X actually, how is it going to fare when you have to get through a bunch of ice? You'll see videos online of people trying to open their Tesla doors in like Boston and New Hampshire, and it's a lot more difficult. Now, there is an app function to open the doors, so you can open the front driver door with the Tesla app on a Model 3 and Y, so I bet they're going to include this functionality for the Cybertruck. Now, as we continue to talk about the outside of the car, of course, it is a pickup truck, and pickup trucks are not very efficient because you have air going over the top, and then it will create a low pressure zone in the bed, and if you were to see the air, it spirals in the back and kind of pulls the truck back, causing drag and inefficiency. Now, you can fix this on a normal truck by putting a tonneau cover on, which is, if you're not familiar with pickup trucks, it's just a cover over the bed. Or you put an actual shell over the back bed, and it kind of looks more like an SUV. What Tesla has done is with every Cybertruck for now will include a motorized tonneau cover, and they call pretty much the whole bed of the truck the vault. So the vault has lighting, as I mentioned, it has those brackets, and it has power outlets, and it has an under bed storage. So if you need to put extra items that are away from the elements or taking up space and you don't want them to roll around in the bed, put them there. And the mechanically or electrically movable tonneau cover, which covers the entire bed. If you notice, the design of the Cybertruck is kind of like a wedge. It looks kind of like a Chevy Avalanche, but it will cover that entire piece, and you can stand on that tonneau cover. It is so tough. It will hold 300 pounds. Now, when the tonneau cover is in the extended position, as in it is closed, you cannot see outside the rear of the truck. The rear window is blocked, and so actually on the interior screen, which we'll get to when we get to the interior because it is special, it will have kind of a live feed of the rear. So it'll use the rear camera. And some vehicles do this by showing you a live feed from a camera in the rear view mirror. But Tesla has chosen to include just a normal rear view mirror and just put the live feed on the screen. I'm kind of curious how they chose to do that instead of going the route of putting the rear view mirror where you're trained to look. But in any case, it's still there. You can still see out the back, and I guess you get used to it over time. Now, when the cover is in the retracted position, you can see out the rear window, no problem. So that's a lot of the exterior. We'll talk about the towing and the power and all that towards the end, and we'll get the pricing at the end. But the exterior is really cool. Oh, I want to also mention that modifications are going to be very difficult on this truck. And here's why. The front fenders, which look cool, and they are plastic, of course a strong plastic, contain the cameras, which can act as mirrors, your side mirrors. The side mirrors also come off quite easily. They keep mentioning this, I feel, because they would love to not have mirrors on the truck and just use cameras as mirrors, but alas, that is not legal yet in the United States, so here we are. But in any case, those cameras, which you'll often find on the side of a Tesla, be it 3YXS, in like a little turn signal, these ones are actually in the fenders. And so if you were somebody who wanted to modify this truck, maybe take off the fenders to be able to fit bigger tires. Tires are 35 inches, custom from Goodyear. I wonder how much those will cost to replace. So yeah, 35-inch tires, 20-inch rims, alloys. You see the plastic cover on them. But anyway, you won't be able to really touch those fenders, or else you're gonna mess with the cameras. And on the rear fenders, you have the charger in there. And so the charging port is part of the fender. And so I feel like this truck will not be very easy to modify, if at all. You can especially tell on the front and the back where there's not a lot of clearance between where the tire ends and the front bumper starts and ends as well. It's maybe about that big from where the tire is to where the car ends at the front. And so the bumper, really, you won't be able to make modifications to put a steel bumper if you want to go off-roading and such. You could probably take off the front air deflectors at the bottom, but I think that's probably it as far as modifications go on the exterior of the truck. Now let's get to the performance of the Cybertruck. So the Cybertruck will come in a single motor rear-wheel drive, dual motor all-wheel drive, or triple motor CyberBeast trim. And let's go through the trims. So overall, the max payload of the vehicle is 2,500 pounds, 2,500 pounds, and the max towing will be 11,000 pounds, and this will be on the all-wheel drive and the CyberBeast models. The max towing on the single motor rear-wheel drive, which comes out in 2025, will be about 7,500 pounds, so just keep that in mind. It will have about 250 miles of range, and we'll have a 0 to 60 time of about 6.5 seconds. The long range model will have dual motors. It'll have a 11,000 pound towing capacity, as I mentioned, a 3.9 0 to 60 time, so significantly better. Again, the 2,500 pound payload capacity. It'll weigh just over 6,000 pounds. The CyberBeast weighs quite a bit more. And it will, yeah, it'll be pretty great. That's the one that most people will probably get. We'll get to the pricing at the end. I'm really eager to tell you. The CyberBeast will have a same towing, same payload capacity. It weighs 6,800 pounds and will have a 0 to 60 of 2.6 seconds, which is ridiculous for such a big pickup truck made out of stainless steel. I mean, this is crazy. You know, in the announcement video, the delivery video, they showed it towing a Porsche 911, drag racing another Porsche 911, and still winning. Now, I want to say, I feel like the Porsche 911 they used in that video might have been a Carrera 4S, maybe a GTS, not a 911 Turbo S. Now, if it was a 911 Turbo S, that would be pretty wild, but I highly doubt that. It will have the Cyberbeast model. It will have over 800 horsepower, and they mentioned 11,000 pound-feet of torque, so pretty crazy numbers. Of course, electric torque is different than gas-powered torque, but they also showed a video of the pull test, and so they put a Lightning, a Rivian, or Ford F-150 like Lightning, a Rivian R1T, Super Duty from Ford as well, a diesel heavy-duty pickup truck, all versus the Cybertruck. They all had to tow up to 40,000 pounds, and the Cybertruck won by far. The Super Duty came in second, the Rivian R1T third, and the F-150 Lightning last. So this thing is just ridiculous. It's crazy. It's very powerful. So if you need to do truck things, it will do truck things. And the range. Let's talk about the range. So the Cyberbeast top model, 320 miles of range. Dual motor, all-wheel drive. That one will have 340 range. So if you want the most range, you go for the all-wheel drive dual motor, the mid-tier. And as I mentioned, the cheapest model will have a 250 mile range. But there is something very interesting, something Tesla has never done, and that is offer a range extender. So of course, these are heavy vehicles and you need to balance weight versus how many batteries you want to put in there to get more range. So it seems Tesla decided that the battery to weight sweet spot was 300 to 320 miles of range. But if you need more range, up to 470 miles or 430 on the Cyberbeast, you can get a range extender, which can be installed in the bed of the Cybertruck. Of course, it will take up some space. It is a massive battery, but it is something that you can order from Tesla. Now, they haven't announced pricing on that, availability, but it is something to consider if you're trying to go almost 500 miles on a charge. Of course, this car will charge it will charge 136 miles in 15 minutes. So that's kind of the charging rate. Of course, you can take it to a Tesla supercharger, charge up to 250 kilowatts an hour, and yeah, it charges quite quick. You can't find too many other vehicles that will reliably charge that fast. Of course, some cars will claim that they can charge faster, but if you actually try to find a charger that can charge it that fast in the optimum conditions, that is almost impossible. So of course, I don't want to be like a Tesla fanboy. It's just realistically right now, at the end of 2023, the state of charging is that if you don't have a Tesla, it's pretty not great. Of course, that's going to be changing as a lot of cars will be moving towards the North American charging standard or the Tesla charger, essentially, and then they can use superchargers as well. Not all of them, but a large portion of them. Now, let's get to the interior and some other great features of this truck. So something really interesting is that this truck will of course have torque vectoring, rear wheel steering, which will give the whole truck the ability to do a U-turn in the same space as a Model S or beat it. Which, smaller vehicle, not the smallest vehicle from Tesla, but smaller. So pretty great to see a massive pickup truck be able to do that. Now I say massive, it is the size of a half-ton truck, so about F-150, Ram 1500, or Toyota Tundra kind of size. So just keep that in mind as well. Chevy Silverado 1500, but I digress. So some other great features, I mentioned the vault, I mentioned the turning circle. Let's talk about the off-road modes. Let's talk about the air suspension, and let's talk about how great this thing is going to be to go against the Raptor. So it's going to have a Baja mode. You have air suspension that can go up to 17 inches of ground clearance, and of course you don't have differentials, so you can lift this thing up to that 17 inches, which is like 4x4 squared standards, the Mercedes G-Wagon 4x4 squared, which is insane, has portal axles, all that. So this thing, flat bottom, 17 inches, 12 inches of suspension travel, insane. And with all these capabilities, you'll be able to get it done off-road. It's long, it's a pickup truck, but pretty great on paper. Well, let's see how it does off-road. A very, 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 very interesting feature of this truck, which no other Tesla has right now, is of course, the steering wheel kind of looks like a yoke. It's more of a squircle, looks like a Chevy Corvette kind of steering wheel, just like crunch down, but it has variable steering. So it's not the first car with variable steering. It's steer by wire, so that means the steering wheel is not directly connected to the front wheels to steer it, but as you get higher in speed, the amount that you turn the steering wheel will do less. So if you're in a parking lot, you're moving slow, you move the steering wheel a little bit, the wheels will turn a lot. If you move the steering wheel a lot when you're going fast, the wheels will turn a little bit. The other car with this is the Lexus RZ, the all-electric Lexus, which is built off of the Toyota BZ4X platform, or Subaru Solterra. So they weren't first, but they might be the best, and they might beat that one to market. Not sure if the Lexus RZ with the variable steering is available quite yet, although the Lexus RZ is available to buy right now with the normal steering wheel. Now, this truck has a ton of features, so I'm going to try to get through all the features. Of course, you think looking at it, you look at the interior, you can only get black or white, and it looks quite bare bones, but it is not, and all the features are kind of hidden. So of course, much like the newer Model 3 Highland, or the European model right now, so we don't have it in the US, but if you look at the interior of the refreshed Model 3, the air vent style, the ambient lighting, that's all very similar now in the Cybertruck. So yes, ambient lighting. You have the air vent that's one singular one and very hidden. You also have kind of nicer materials on the dashboard, a little bit of like an Alcantara feel, and you still have the fake leather on all the seats. And you have heated seats all the way around, front and rear, but only ventilated in the front. Now, an interesting just little quirk is that the center seat in the rear is not heated or cooled, whereas in like even a Model 3, the middle seat is heated, so just something to keep in mind. But anyways, you have a flat floor in the back, so 3 people can sit very comfortably. You have a 9-inch screen in the back to control your HVAC, or you can watch movies and all that fun stuff on the back. And then in the front, you have a 18.5-inch infotainment screen, which is one of the biggest in any car. Other cars will claim to have bigger screens, like the Hyperscreen in the Mercedes, but it's actually not one screen. It is 3 different screens. So kind of weird marketing on their end, but Tesla, 18.5-inch screen, massive screen, looks really good from what we can tell. Now, what else? Has bioweapon defense mode, which is the extremely powerful filtration system, which you can find in higher end Tesla models. Not the Model 3 though, but you can find in Model S, Model X, and some Model Ys, I believe. And what else? You got blind spot monitoring, which you do have on the other Teslas, but it's all on the screen. So like you see, the cars around you, they'll light up red if it's in your blind spot and you're about to try to change lanes. This one will actually have a blind spot light in the A-pillars right by where you look for the side mirrors. So very interesting. No other Tesla has this right now. Kind of looks like the way that Nissan does it, or Audi, I believe, as well, with the A-pillar light. Let's see what else. I've got my iPad right here with all of the features. Chargers galore. You have USB-C chargers, you have wireless chargers, you have 120 and 240 volt outlets. So you can get all your charging needs in one. You've got, of course, the adjustable air suspension, so you can go all the way down to an entry and exit mode, really squatted down. So then you can go low, medium, high, and then off-road. And so that'll get you that 17 inches. They call it extract mode, so that's interesting as well. You can flip up the rear seats much like other pickup trucks, and you get, I believe, 64 cubic inches of space, or is it cubic feet? I think cubic feet of space, and so you get a lot more space. A person who's over 6 feet tall can very comfortably sit in those rear seats as well without touching their head on the top glass. There's an optional light bar, which is really cool, so you can buy that, get that installed right above that massive front windshield. And there's also an optional tent, which will go on the rear of the car. And so you can get like that overlanding experience in your Tesla. Now, if you want to actually go overlanding, the range, you might want to get that range extender too. Don't know how that affects the tent because that's kind of where you sleep. But in any case, you get matrix LED lights, which are below the front. So you see that massive light bar? That's actually not the headlights. So keep that in mind. You also get fog lights. So great to see that. Yeah, you get a front camera. No other Tesla has a front camera. So technically you have 360 cameras now. And the front camera, you can wash it with a little button on the touchscreen. You hit that, there's a washer on it. So if it gets dirty, easy going. Really important little feature, especially if you want to take this off-road or you live in dirty climates. So I'm glad they thought about that. Let's get to the pricing. Okay, so this single motor rear-wheel drive standard size battery will go for $61,000, slated for 2025. Of course, I bet that price will change because knowing Tesla, the prices change, and 2025 is still a year away. Now, the two models that will be coming out next year, 2024, are the long-range all-wheel drive dual motor and the Cyber Beast, which is also a all-wheel drive but triple motor setup. So the dual motor all-wheel drive will go for $79,990, so right under that $80,000. So you can get the tax break if you're a business, and you can write off a portion of the sale of this the purchase of this vehicle in the year that you purchase it. So if you have a big tax bill, go get a Cybertruck if you can. I doubt it. I doubt you'll just be able to get one because production is going to be tough. But in any case, the Cyber Beast top model, it's not called the Plaid, it's called the Cyber Beast, goes for $99,990. So it's effectively $100,000. $100,000. My goodness. Choking up because I'm just thinking about that price, and I wish I could get one, but that's a lot. Yeah, so I think when you compare it to other pickup trucks of comparable size, it is more expensive, more premium, especially if you compare it directly to like a Rivian. The Rivian is a bit smaller though, but the Rivian's a bit cheaper. The Tesla outperforms every other pickup truck though in the half-ton class. So it does make sense why it's the most expensive, but we'll see. Prices can change. Tesla is famous for changing prices on a whim. So that is something to consider. Now, before we get to the verdict, like, subscribe, comment, let me know any questions you have. I can try to answer them, and go check out my other videos. Subscribe. The verdict. I think it's great. I think a lot of people were worried that there was going to be too many changes to the Cybertruck, or that it would lack a lot of the jaw-dropping claims that Tesla had made a few years ago when they first announced it. But it seems they've pretty much kept all the promises on this vehicle other than the price, and some things are better. So if you have a reservation like I do, my reservation is not a very high number, not a very low number, so I doubt I'll get one for the next couple years. But in any case, if you have a reservation and you're able to get one very soon, within the next year, I would say definitely go for it. If you actually need a truck, it's a pretty great truck. Of course, there's probably some downsides, but it's great. So definitely go for it. In any case, like, subscribe. I'm gonna have videos coming out twice a week for the time being. So there's always more content to be watched. Go out and check my older videos, and I'll see you in the next one.